Hey guys, so today is a video that I've had essentially in planning for like probably a month at this point, but it just feels like I overthink content a lot of the time in recent times, because I think sometimes I had the approach of like quantity over quality, and then that got me into trouble. And then sometimes I think, okay, well, let's just do quality over quantity, and then I never get a video out, because then I start overthinking every step of the video, because like, what if I film it and I start editing it, something crazy happens, and it's like I overthink things so much that I'm like, how about I just film and post, and if something happens, I'll just film again and edit again and post again and just update you guys. Like, it's really not a big deal. I don't know why I'm like overthinking it now. Before you get into the video, subscribe, hit that bell, like, comment for engagement. Everything you need will be in the description, along with social media, my book channel, my deep dive channel, my podcast, and everything else. So subscribe, leave comments for engagement. Apparently that's amazing right now. And yeah, let's just get into Def Noodles, our good friend. Today I want to talk about Def Noodles. Def Noodles. Not very funny. That was not funny for me, but I also don't claim to be a comedian who's been practicing for 13 years. I am just a measly drama channel. So if you guys don't know, Def Noodles is where do I even start? Well, when he first started out, he was making like Reddit videos and reaction videos, and then he got shut down by Kavos. I think it's Kavos. He got shut down by him in this series that Kavos used to do, where people would submit their videos to get like reviewed. He basically decided if he liked your channel or not. But like, it's one man deciding. It's a subjective opinion. Like, if I submitted my videos, chances are he'd be like, no. And yet I'm still here. It's still my full-time job. So I don't know why Def Noodles took it so seriously, but he actually put out a video being like, I was going to quit YouTube because of this. And I think that was really the starting point of like, one, the commentary bros not liking him, because he's so sensitive, and I think the commentary side of things is very like, don't be sensitive, yada yada yada, right? So they just didn't like him. But also Kavos is part of the commentary community, kind of. So I just think it created like a rift between them. And then he actually started going against the commentary guys. Now, I'm gonna preface this by saying, me and the commentary guys have had some beef in the past. They don't like me very much, and that's okay. That's okay. I feel like I've also come a long way since then. I'm trying my best, you know? I just feel like I'm done with like the beef. I don't really care enough to argue with people on the internet. I'm just kind of like, I'll put a video out there and that's it. But I just don't agree with a lot of things they do. Well, I think that's a bold statement. I don't agree with some of the things they do, and I think they don't agree with some of the things that I do. And that's why there's always been a rift between like commentary channels and tea channels. It's always been like a bit of like a one side doesn't really understand the other side. And who would have thought Def Noodles would be the one to bring us together? That is so cute. Essentially, I had beef with them, and then like things happened, and then they started beefing each other, and they kind of like, I guess, got bored of beefing me, which was very handy for me. I just don't think I entertained it for long enough for it to be interesting for them. I think if someone just doesn't give you back enough content to work with, at some point you're going to be bored of beefing them. And I think I would tweet here and there, or I would like address them here and there, but really and truly I was not doing enough to keep them interested in me. So that's on me. That's my bad. I wasn't keeping them interested. But Def Noodles, on the other hand, when he started beefing them, he was very like, reply to every single tweet and block every single and I just think it became fun to beef him. It became really funny for them. It became like a bonding activity. So I think he was more or less fueling the anger that they had towards him. I just think if he had like left it, it would have just been fine. I'm not saying that you shouldn't stand up for yourself, but I just think sometimes you need to weigh up your options and just be like, is this worth the stress? So he would post YouTube videos about it, and he would tweet, and he would subtweet, and he would like, and then he would go on these live streams and talk about it. And I was like, where do you get all this energy from? Because I just want to play Switch. That's what I want to do. I want to play Switch. I want to read a book. I do not want to beef people in my free time. That's just not what I want to do. And I remember I even DM'd him at the time, because I think that was just me coming off me beefing with them, and he was just starting to beef with them. And I DM'd him with some support. I'm not going to get the DMs up now, and I also feel really weird reading out my conversations with people, but the general gist of what I said was like, hey, I see what's happening to you. And I think at that point I didn't really realize what he was doing to warrant the beef. I just think I just saw that and applied how I felt beefing with them to him. Does that make sense? Like, I was judging him based on me, and I think I should have looked at the whole situation objectively. But anyway, so I just DM'd him being like, hey, I see what you're going through. I feel bad, they're just incels, bro. And like, I throw around the word incel a lot without its actual true meaning. I'm sure these men are having sex. Like, I'm sure they're fine. Because I know incel's like involuntary celibate. Anyway, I'm sure these men are having sex. And if they're not, that's fine. So I was just like, they're just incels, bro. Like, don't worry about it. It'll pass. And then I think I started noticing like why they're beefing him. And I was like, oh, I'm not gonna like DM Def Noodles and be like, I am refunding my support for you. But I was just like, I'm just not gonna get involved, like necessarily publicly. I'm just not gonna get involved, whatever. I already gave him my support, I gave him my blessing. I was like, that's fine. This intro is so long, but I just feel like I need to break down the like, how this all started, right? I'm just having a chat with you guys. So then, I'm starting to see like cracks in the Def Noodles situation where, for example, he was going out of his way to not put context in situations where context was kind of necessary. For example, there was some beef he had with Nicholas Diorio. I was gonna call him Nick Diorio, but I guess I could have just said that with Nick, where Nick and some of his friends were on a stream, basically like someone was playing Minecraft. It was a whole thing. You know how you like talk over a game. And they were just discussing Def Noodles as you would. And one of them made a joke about how they're going to like get people to hate, like, you know, just like typical, like, haha, we're gonna get everyone to like report him and hate him and yada yada yada. And Nick in that moment said, oh, leave me out of that. Like, I'm gonna pass on that opportunity. Basically just saying like, I'm not here for the mob mentality. Like, I said what I needed to say about Def Noodles and I'm not going any further with that.
Somebody make a Def Noodles app, tweet horrible in there, then post some replies to his tweet and see if his
You can't do the
believe
website's down. You gotta get a gap, dude.
No, I have it open right now.
Okay.
All right. Somebody make a horrible account of Def Noodles.
Yeah, so I can screenshot and reply to him.
If one were to extend this clip another 2 to 3 seconds, they would hear me audibly say that I'm gonna pass on that one. I don't want to be involved.
And be like, this you. Say this you and see how many people believe it, dude.
Yeah,
I'm gonna pass
it.
on that one. I don't want to be involved.
Def Noodles then takes that clip and cuts it right before when Nick says that and posts on Twitter saying how Nick is inciting like mob mentality against Def Noodles. And I looked at that and I was like, you were doing so good. Why would you do that? Augie, with my accent, every name just sounds really dumb. But anyway, another live streamer on YouTube, basically in the commentary community, then got Def Noodles on his live stream to discuss this and asked Def why he would cut out the context. And Def Noodles obviously can't say anything like intelligent to that. There is no reasonable explanation for why you would cut out the main context of the conversation. So it just made him look really bad. And I'm starting to notice a pattern since then that when Def Noodles goes on any kind of live stream or long form debate content, he does not come out looking right. Like it just doesn't sound good.
Yeah,
I'm gonna pass on that one. I don't want to be involved.
So see, I'm gonna pass on that one. So he disavowed.
Wait a minute. 29 seconds. Your clip is 20 seconds. Why the fuck did you leave that context out?
So he disavowed it 29 seconds in. Let's hear to see if he tells his audience.
No. You're not gonna win this game. You're not gonna win this game by simply saying he didn't disavow it immediately. He disavowed it 2 sentences after or whatever.
So that's close to 300 people that have been now informed to go do this. And I'm just gonna tell you what I would do in this situation if I didn't agree with a situation. I wouldn't necessarily say I disavow it. I would say, hey, everyone in the chat, don't do this. I get you. And that's fine. That's great that he disavowed it. But he never told his chat to not do it. And I understand that.
What if he told his chat not to do it or whatever, and they still did it anyway? Would you have clipped that tweet differently?
I would have, yeah, if he had told his chat.
Really?
So then we have a bit of silence. I'm actually not going to cover every single story, and I'm not going to cover most stories in like full detail because I think we would literally be here for 4 hours, and this is not a live stream. This is a chat. So then let's fast forward a little bit. They're still beefing. There's like subtweets going back and forth. I at some point was just so bored. I was like, just stop responding. So then we get to a story about I'll just shorten it. There was a guy who was 17, made some like sexually charged remarks towards another YouTuber. That YouTuber is also like a minor. She goes to her parents and is really upset about it. They all film a video basically saying that this adult man, bear in mind he was 17, not that it makes making sexually charged comments at other people right, but they were like, this adult man is preying on our daughter. And by the way, I'm not justifying sexual harassment, but I think there is a way of saying things that isn't over dramatizing things for no reason. So if they had just said like, this other YouTuber is like sexually harassing our daughter, like making sexual remarks towards her, which she doesn't want, unwarranted, unnecessary, that would have been completely fine. But they went out of their way to make him, one, older than he is. You know, they refer to him as an adult. He was 17. There was just a lot going on there that just wasn't right from both sides. There was just a lot of like almost racially charged, like weird, this, you know, this black man is preying on our daughter. He was a child. He's also 17. It was just a lot of like weird action going on. Def Noodles paints it as this adult YouTuber is essentially like sexually preying on a child. They're both teenagers. And once again, I am not justifying sexual harassment, just to be very crystal clear before one of you is like, are you justifying sex? No, I'm not. I think they're both in the wrong. I think don't make sexually charged comments at people that don't want them, but also do not paint someone as an adult preying on a child when they're both teenagers, because I think that then adds an element of crime into it that I don't particularly like, right? So Def Noodles paints this story as what the parents had said. Papago, who is another YouTuber, basically says that he wasn't okay with the way they had painted the story, and if they had just phrased it differently, the response would have been different. They then take the video down. It's a whole thing. Anyway, so Def Noodles and Papago then get into a bit of a argument, and they start debating, and I watched that debate, and that was really like, in my eyes, the downfall of Def Noodles, because I think that debate really showed how poorly he formulates arguments, how he doesn't actually understand what he's saying half the time. Like, it was so painful to watch. And you know, we saw a lot of people who are friendly with Def Noodles reluctantly tweeting that like Papago basically destroyed Def Noodles in this debate. If you guys want to watch, I'm not going to summarize, you know, 2 hours worth of debating for you guys, because I think it's very difficult for me to summarize tone of voice and summarize poorly formulated arguments and summarize just a general vibe and gist of like the argument. I think you have to watch it and like experience it to feel it, right? Like, I just think you need to experience it to know what I'm talking about. But Def Noodles would get very triggered a lot of the time, I guess is like the buzzword. Like, he would just start shouting or like raising his voice or just interrupting, but then being like, don't interrupt me. There was just a lot of like nothing in his arguments. So it left with Papago being kind of like victorious in that situation, right? Of just being like, here's my arguments. Def Noodles didn't have anything in return. So me, Papago, look, victorious. Since then, Def Noodles has hated Papago. And actually, I'm gonna just say a little bit here. Papago was banned on TikTok for a joke he made. Now, if you guys don't like dark humor, this might not fly with you. But I think we need a bit of nuance and a little bit of context to this joke, right? So let's just go back in time to when the Lopez brothers, what are their names? Tweedledee and Tweedledum Lopez. They were both accused of grooming underage girls and other SA stuff. Like, there was just a lot of allegations going around, and you know, it was bad, but nothing really came of it. But anyway, so Papago then went on TikTok and made a joke that said, thank you to the Lopez brothers for teaching me that if she's old enough to bleed, she's old enough to breed, which is obviously a disgusting statement to make, but I think he wasn't saying that for himself. He wasn't like, oh guys, thank you, finally I can prey on young girls. Like, that's not what he was saying. He was saying in a sarcastic, I think also Americans are very, shout out to my Americans, I really like you guys because you're my main country of viewing, but Americans really struggle with, and Papago is American, like I'm just saying Americans as a population struggle with sarcasm and struggle with like, which is why sometimes I say something and then I look at the comments and people are like, oh my God, why would you say that? And I'm like, it was sarcasm. Sarcasm means like you use a tone of voice that indicates actually the opposite of what you're saying. Like, it would mean the opposite. And sometimes like, you know, people get in trouble for sarcasm, and I think it's like Americans not understanding sarcasm or something about sarcasm not clicking in America. Whereas the UK really loves sarcasm. It's like a whole thing that we do in every single conversation. So anyway, what I took from Papago's joke, dark humor, was he was sarcastically saying like, okay, thanks to the Lopez brothers for teaching us how to be pedos, essentially. He was not saying that if she's young enough, if she's old enough, to bleed, she's old enough to breed. That was not the statement that he was making, because that would actually make him a criminal. He was saying sarcastically, thanks to the Lopez brothers for teaching all of us this wonderful thing. See the sarcasm in my voice? This wonderful thing, right? It was a joke. But I think there's nuance, and it was already a sensitive topic, and I just think all of that put together just didn't leave a great taste in people's mouths. You know, whatever you think about dark humor, I don't think Papago was saying like, it's great to be a pedophile. Like, I do not personally think that's what he was trying to say. And he got banned on TikTok for that, which, you know, whatever. He's now on YouTube, and bear in mind also, Papago is responsible for discussing and taking down groomers, essayers of any kind on YouTube. He's like at the forefront of fighting against essay on the internet, which I'm so glad to see. And mainly because he has some personal, I'm gonna get into that in a minute, he has some personal kind of stories with essay in real life when it comes to like people closest to him. So I guess it's like a topic he holds close to his heart because it's something that he's seen firsthand, like how it affects people. So it's something that he takes really seriously. So I just don't think with all of that combined, we can look at this like dark humor joke that he made and really and truly believe that that's what he meant. But anyway, so while they're having this debate, they actually come across this topic of this joke, right? And Def Noodles, in the end of the debate, decides that Papago was fully in the right for making that joke. Like, it's not like a criminal offense to make that joke, right? So bear that in mind. During this debate, Def Noodles says that he's completely fine with this joke. He should be fine with this joke because comedy comes in many forms. Comedians usually are a little bit more edgy with their humor. Like, I just think if you're claiming to be this like comedian, you would be fine with it because you understand that form of comedy, right? Because he's been trained as a comedian professionally. So he would surely also be trained in dark humor if that's what he wanted to pursue. Not that every comedian pursues dark humor, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to cover my back here. So then a bit of time passes, and you can tell that because of the reception of this debate, Def Noodles hates Papago's gut. Yes, and he just keeps on tweeting, subtweeting, yada yada yada. Then we get to kind of more recent day. I'm jumping a little bit forward because I think in between there's a lot of irrelevant news that we just don't need to go over. We skip a little bit. Def Noodles says that he made Papago's career. I don't think that having a really bad debate with someone and making them look really good is like making their career. I just think you destroyed yours. Like, I don't think you made Papago's career. I just think you destroyed the Def Noodles career. And that's not linked. They're like mutually exclusive things. One doesn't have to happen for the other to happen. I think the correct tweet format would have been like, I destroyed my career and it made Papago look really good. So the beef rekindles, and then in all of this, because Def Noodles cannot accept accountability, cannot be self-aware, cannot just accept failure, I guess. And I know it's difficult. I'm barely self-aware and I barely take accountability. Like, I think it's a human response to not want to be held accountable because it means you're wrong. No one likes being wrong, but sometimes you just have to take it on the chest, you know? And he didn't. He then started doubling down, and how do I say this without it coming, I just want it to come across the way exactly how it happened. Def Noodles made a lot of tweets that said Papago looks like a pedophile. Now I'm trying to phrase this really carefully because he didn't actually at any point say that Papago is a pedophile, but he said he looks like a pedophile. He made a lot of jokes about it, and I think it's still borderline slanderous. Like, I still think you can't do that because, first of all, what is looking like a pedophile? Because there are so many people who don't look like a pedophile and they are ones. So this whole like looking like a pedophile is such an outdated thought process. So he was making all of these like, Papago looks like a pedophile. He keeps on talking about me, but he looks like a pedophile. And I just didn't really see the relevance. I was like, okay. First of all, I don't see the relevance. But second of all, isn't that a little bit slanderous? And bear in mind, at the same time as he's doing all of this, he's actively suing Keemstar for making a joke about Def Noodles being a pedophile. Now I have to go all the way back again. I'm jumping in time. So if you guys remember the James Charles allegations were coming out, everyone was being kind of, some people were being careful, some people were not. Def Noodles would report on every single James Charles accusation, even if they weren't fully confirmed, which means he ended up with a few accusations here and there that weren't true. They were like jokes. He would then tweet later on being like, hey, like this actually wasn't true. But once kind of like the news is out there, it's difficult to, in the words of Emily D. Baker, you can't put the shit back in the horse, right? Like, it's already out, you can't put it back in. So I just think he wasn't very careful with that. And it ended up making James Charles, ended up giving James Charles an out to be like, people are lying about me. When like, even though 75% of the allegations were true, it gave James Charles an out and it made him look better. Because of that, Keemstar then tweeted in the format that Def Noodles tweets in and basically made a fake allegation that someone came out against Def Noodles, but it was phrased as like, I can't believe I'm having to defend Keemstar today. What happened? What has happened? He tweeted in the format of a Def Noodles tweet and he made it look very much like a joke. Like he made it look very much like I'm poking fun at this guy. Def Noodles gets really upset about it, which shows his hypocrisy of like, I'm allowed to do it to James Charles, but you're not allowed to do it to me. He then sues Keemstar for defamation, which bear in mind, one, it's very difficult to prove defamation against someone who is a public figure. You have to prove malice, which I don't think he would be able to prove. It's also very expensive, mainly once it gets to court. We saw the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. It's so expensive. They spent like 6-7 million each on lawyers, which I don't think this would be as big of a case, but like you get what I'm saying. So that was that. So at the same time as he is suing Keemstar for making jokes about Def Noodles being a pedophile, he's also actively making jokes about another man looking like a pedophile. Do we see the hypocrisy? Yet again, I just don't understand what is going on. Like, I just don't understand. I'm trying to keep up. I'm trying to mentally keep up and be like, well, it's like I'm trying to get into the mindset of Def Noodles and be like, okay, what's going on? What am I thinking right now? And I just cannot put the story together. As you guys can see, I'm like struggling to speak. So while all of this is happening, this is a bit of a trigger warning, I guess, for SA. Papago then goes and publicly talks about how upset he is about this whole thing, you know, being accused of looking like a pedophile. And he also mentions the Lopez brothers joke and how Def Noodles has now changed his mind and decided the joke actually isn't correct. And that's why he's making all these jokes about Papago looking like a pedophile because of this joke, which he, during their debate, agreed was a fine joke to make. There's just a lot going on. So Papago basically goes on stream and is like, I can't believe that people are using this joke to accuse me of being a predator when I'm literally on my platform trying to expose and find predators on the internet. But now because of a stupid joke that I made, I'm being called a pedophile by a guy who's suing someone else for calling them a pedophile. Anyway, so Papago is really upset about it. And he also then talks about his wife. And I don't want to talk about this for too long because it's not my story to tell, but essentially Papago then mentions how he's had personal stories where people come to him, aka his wife, and talk about being essayed and how that impacts someone's life. And he broke down crying, and you could tell that it was a very serious moment where he said like, look, I made this joke, fair enough, but I know how essay impacts people, and I do everything in my power on the internet, on the platform, to use my platform against people that commit essay. So like, forgive me for making a dumb joke, but like I'm doing my best. And I completely agree. So he starts crying, right? And Def Noodles then takes a screenshot of Papago crying about his wife being essayed brutally and puts it on a t-shirt to sell as merch. And like tweets about it as like making fun of Papago for crying, because Def Noodles is claiming that Papago is crying because Def Noodles is calling him a pedophile, which if he had just watched the video, he would know that Papago was crying because of his wife's story. And then he took down the merch and he took down the tweets and he claimed that like he never saw that part of the video, like he stopped right before, but like the build up to the crying was already Papago talking about the essay, so you couldn't have missed it if you took a screenshot of him crying. Does that make sense? So then they have a Twitter space, which you guys don't know. Twitter Spaces is like a public live chat where you can essentially add a bunch of people in, and some of them are speakers, some of them are listeners, and if you're on there, everyone can see that you're like in the thing just listening. So there were a lot of people with like blue ticks just listening, and they were having a Twitter space and it lasted like 6 hours. Bear in mind, I have a life. I'm not going to listen to all of that. I listened to it on YouTube in double speed and I listened to bits of it. Def Noodles and Papago start debating again. Nick Diorio is there to kind of mediate. Keemstar is there, like in and out. Petty Page is, well, I think she goes by Paige Christie now. Paige Christie is there, in and out. Adam McIntyre. People are really pissed at Def Noodles. No one really was there on his side other than like a few of his fans, which they did not make him look any better. They were just like shouting aggressively and like being like, what's your point? What's your point? And it's just like, it just didn't add anything to the conversation. So there was no one on Def Noodles' side that made him look good. And he didn't make himself look good. So that's just like the basis of the whole conversation, right? So they start debating, and Def Noodles and Papago, while they're debating, are both going in circles. And I'm not blaming this on Papago, I'm blaming this on Def Noodles, because whenever Papago would make a joke that was almost a checkmate against Def Noodles would try and move the goalpost. Why am I going from playing checkers to playing football? But you guys know what I'm saying. He would do checkmate and Def Noodles would be like, no, we're actually playing basketball now, and just would switch the whole conversation around. And he never really took accountability. I never really heard him say sorry to Papago for what he did. So he's doing this whole thing about like, I care about victims and I care about, you know, whatever. But he can't say sorry to Papago and he can't say sorry to anyone. So that Twitter Spaces ended and people thought it was a disaster. Absolutely, me too. Me too, sis. The Twitter Spaces ended and Def Noodles is still going on. Now on his YouTube channel, if we go on his channel since then, I'm actually gonna put up 3 screenshots quickly for you guys before I forget. This is what his channel is looking like right now as of me filming it. There are videos with less than 10,000 views. Some have 16,000 if he's really like popping off, you know? And this is on a channel with 500k subs. This is when he's actually posting like the content that people want to see from him, which is his like irrelevant news bit, right? And he's getting about 16 to 20,000 views. If he's addressing criticism against him, he might get 30-40,000 views, and that's really the peak of his career right now. And then so 2 months ago, before all of this really started popping off fully, he was getting about 60 to 70,000 views, which was fine. Like I think that is enough money to cover like an editor and yada yada and still live pretty comfortably. But if we look 5 months ago, he was always above 100,000 views. Now everyone's views have dropped off. Mine have dropped off. I just think it's the algorithm's not doing what it needs to do sometimes, and people going back to work and school and yada yada, and like TikTok's taken over. And I just think like, yeah, it's warranted that he would go from like 100,000 views to 70,000 views. I think that's fully warranted. But to then go from 70,000 to under 10,000 views has to show you something. Like I think when my views started dropping off, I was like, oh, okay, well I need to switch up my content. Like instead of quantity, I'll do quality. I don't post more than like once a week now. I post once a week on this channel. Sometimes not even. I post once a week on my deep dive channel. I post once a week on my book channel, once a week on my podcast. And that's it. And I just think that's, for now, that's what I can do. If I can increase the quantity while keeping the quality, I will. If I can't, I won't. And I think, like, sometimes you need to look at what's happening and think, okay, maybe, just maybe, I'm not right and I need to fix it, right? Like, sometimes we have to look inwards and be like, oh, clearly this isn't working and I need to change it. But Def Noodles has this thing where, once again, zero self-awareness, zero self-accountability, zero just, like, understanding of stuff, where he's like, no, everyone is wrong and I'm right. And he just keeps on going deeper and deeper, digging himself a deeper and deeper hole. And this whole time he's doing all of this, he thinks it's great publicity. Like he thinks this is great PR for him, because I think he's going by the old school method. And I'm going to say old school because it links to a different story. Old school method of any PR is good PR. I don't think that applies anymore. I think bad PR is good in the moment. It will increase your viewership in the moment. And I think after that, you just fall off because no one cares about you, because people just cared about your drama. And that's what's going on here. Like, people just don't care about him anymore. And I'm saying old school way because Def Noodles pretended that he was in his early 20s when he did an Insider article, which was actually exposed by Taylor Lorenz. When she did an article with him on Insider, she asked him if he was 24 and he said yes. But he said he also doesn't like to make his age super public because of his acting career, which I didn't really see much of an acting career, but just like comedy, you know? He claims he's an actor and a comedian, and I just think you're a drama channel, that's it. And like, that's a fine thing to be. I don't know why you want to be so much more when that's not what you're good at. Just be a drama channel. Taylor Lorenz is like, okay, so you're 24. Great, confirmed. It's on famous birthdays. Like, everyone thinks he's early 20s, mid 20s now. Why is this man 37 years old? Tell me why. Tell me why. He's 37 and this came out and he confirmed it. And now he's like posting thirst traps being like, this is what a 37-year-old looks like. And I'm like, cringe, first of all. I'm not ageist. I think you can be on the platform at any age. You know, I've never been like, once you're like past 25, you need to get off the platform. But don't lie about your age to seem more relatable to people, you know? I just think it's a bit cringe. So yeah, I think he's going by like old show business, like any PR is good PR. That's just not how the internet works. He announces he's opening up a comedy show. So he rented out a office space in LA, and according to some like YouTubers that live in LA, this space is 9,000 square feet. It's big space. He's not using most of it for the comedy show, if that's the case, but I don't know. That's just what I've heard. It's a big space and it's very expensive because it's in LA. Everything in LA is expensive. So bear in mind, his views are like 10 to 30,000 per video. He cannot afford, he's got like 2 like official staff working for him, and he's renting out the space. And I mean, he has to live somewhere, right? So he has to like rent a house for himself as well. He cannot afford this full time. Like, yeah, he might have some savings now, but he won't be able to sustain this for more than a few months. at best. And I say that as someone who has a pretty good CPM, and like I know how much money he's making if he has the same CPM as me. And I think it's a fine income if he didn't have this many outgoings. But because he does, it's an issue. So he puts on this comedy show. He basically says like, show up, like pull up, or like shut up. Essentially this whole thing, encouraging people to come to this space, right? And I'm gonna come back to that later. This is very important. Like constant tweets being like, pull up or shut up, like come to the comedy show, come to my like new office space, putting out the address publicly, putting tickets on sale. So he puts on a comedy show and Jesus Christ, was it awful. It was so bad that Critical, a channel with 10 million subs, reacted to it and just mocked it the whole time in a really funny way. I love Critical, like great vibes, but wow, was it cringe, right? So he brought on some like professional comedians that have been in the game for like 10 years. They're all awful. They're all really bad. And comedy might be subjective, but there are just some things that just aren't funny. They just didn't make any funny jokes. He also got banned off Twitch. He was live streaming this on Twitch the whole time, and he got banned because the final act, the girl kept on saying the F slur. She claims, I think she says she's bisexual, like she's debating on her sexuality. So I'm not here to, you know, whatever, police, whatever, but she kept on saying it and he got banned on Twitch. She actually ended up winning when the whole time she was just shouting and screaming like 9/11. And she thought it was like really funny. When they're like doing their comedy bit, Def Noodles says amazing jokes such as, you look like my cousin if he was a girl. Are you from Detroit? I didn't think so. Like just hilarious, top tier humor. Wow, beautiful jokes. Beautiful jokes. So people are reacting to this and saying it's really bad. He says that he made history because he was trending on Twitter. Trending because people were just saying how dog shit your comedy show was, but go off, sis. Def Noodles then posts an apology to Critical, but it's obviously like ironic. And then the Critical posts an update video being like, hey guys, I didn't realize there was so much drama around this kid. Like, you know, like I didn't mean to hurt his feelings, but he's clearly going through it. And then Def Noodles does a full-on live stream on his podcast channel with the other comedians that were on, basically just chatting about Critical the whole time, like about how he's so invested in reacting to people's situations, as if Def Noodles wasn't a commentary / drama channel literally 2 months ago, reacting to people's stories every single day. And these other comedians are like shitting on T channels and commentary channels while sitting next to someone who made his career being a commentary and T channel. And Def Noodles is like laughing but like trying to not die of embarrassment. He's like, yeah, T channels are so bad. You know, like just the whole time. Anyway, so that's the beef with Critical. It's just so bad. Anyway, so he's posting gems such as addressing the new allegations, addressing the tweets that got me cancelled, my apology to Moist Critical for first super roast battles, retracting my apology to Moist Critical, everyone loves Def Noodles with the clown thing, I am the funniest comedian in the world, my response to Kavos's boxing challenge, I'm gonna get into that in a minute, and then my life has been threatened. So now regarding the tweets that Def Noodles had to apologize for, he actually told someone to kill themselves. So that was great. He like responds to everyone now just being like, kill yourselves, guys. You should kill yourself. Which like, for someone who thought Papago's dark humor wasn't appropriate, to tell people to kill themselves, very original dark humor you got going on. That's amazing. Never heard that one before. That's crazy. So he's doing that. He's also constantly attacking his audience, like the audience that is just basically being like, hey, we're concerned for you, like you're spending a lot of money and you're changing up the format and you seem really distressed and like, are you okay? And he's like, you guys are not here for me, you guys are just attacking me, you hate to see me prosper, this is the best I've ever felt mentally, and just like attacking his audience the whole time. And no wonder they've all left, right? Because no one wants to sit there and just be like, okay, like just constantly attack, just like, okay, sure, I'm just concerned for you. And while he's attacking his audience, and while he's telling people to kill themselves, he also then got called out by Kavos to a boxing match. Let me get the tweets up. Okay, so Kavos says, if the opportunity presented itself, would you guys want to see Kavos versus Def Noodles in the ring? There is a lot of history, we are about the same height, not sure about his weight, and it would be two commentators going at it. I think it sounds good. On top of all of that, we both haven't fought, so it would be equal playing field. I actually think that's a pretty decent idea just to capitalize on the whole drama. Just from like a monetary standpoint, great idea from Kavos. Then Def Noodles, whose name on Twitter right now, and it makes me feel sick, is Zaddy Noodles. Sorry, that is disgusting. Please never say that again. He quote tweets it and he says, I don't need a boxing ring to beat your ass. Show up to LA at any time and I'll whip your ass for free on the street. You can live stream it on your channel if you're really this desperate to make a buck. Q-tip head looking motherfucker. You're 37. I hate to age shame. I do hate to age shame. You're 37. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not even going to justify that. Kavos then responds and says, so instead of wanting to box, Def Noodles makes a dumb offer because he knows I'm not flying to LA for this, except the boxing match you put. I wish these guys didn't swear as much because I'm gonna have to censor all of this out and it's just gonna sound like, you know? And like reading out tweets when there's a lot of swearing really just sounds like your internet's really bad and just keeps on cutting out. Def Noodles then quote tweets and says, I have zero interest in boxing you in the ring. If you're really this desperate to fight, I'll book a flight to England tomorrow and be out there in a week so we can do it in the street. Why is he so desperate to fight people in the street? What is going on? I just don't get it. Is that what the 80s were like? 90s? I think he would have been like, so like late 90s. Was just late 90s just pure like street fighting? Am I confused? Are me and Cavos both confused? No, Phoebe, you're not involved in this. No. And then Cavos responds and says, you have no interest in boxing on a big card, but would rather fly to England just so I can beat your Makes no sense, but Zaddy Noodles then quote tweets and says, I have no interest in boxing you in the ring. If you want to fight, this is my final offer. I'll book a flight tomorrow, fly out within the week, and meet you at the mutually agreed street to murder you. This is my final offer. I can't believe we're now like offering to murder people on Twitter. What is going on? What is going on? Cavos then responds and says, I can get a bigger fight than you, mate, but me and you would make a good storyline. Stop being a goon and fight me in the ring like a man. Def Noodles responds and says, go get your bag then, I'm not stopping you. As I said, if you want to fight me, this is how it's going to happen. I don't need a boxing ring, a commission, a ref, or anyone to regulate a fight, but my goal is to literally end your existence. Cavos says, so you can't do that in a ring because you know you would lose. I also got unfollowed by Def Noodles in the process of all of this because I tweeted out, oh, Phoebe moved the camera, I think, because I publicly disagreed with him, and here we are now, you know? Keemstar joins in and says, at Cavos, at Def Noodles, I'll be 100% unbiased and help both of you set up a proper boxing match. This is literally what I do and everyone knows it. Cavos responds and says, even Keem offered to help set up a proper boxing match. Probably got a bit too real for defamation Noodles, so he deleted all his tweets. Def then responds and says, I deleted the tweets because I often get mass reported and I didn't want my account taken down. I explained on my podcast, if you want to fight, I'll fight for you. No, I'll fly to you for a street fight. I have zero interest in boxing you in a ring. Get over it or keep tweeting about me 20 times a day, whatever. Someone responds to Def Noodles and says, such a cop-out. And Def says, me, accept fight challenge and request a more brutal format. Haters, ew, why don't you want to pretend fight with pillows on your knuckles instead? So now boxers, like professional boxers, are just like fake fighting, like princess fighting with little pillows. Or just like downplaying boxing as a sport. He then, confirms what I was saying. He says, boxing isn't a real sport. You'll never see a motherfucker pop out of his eye socket in a boxing ring. That's why the only real fight to roam the planet was Kimbo Slice. R.I.P. to the GOAT. He is so weird. Just so weird. So weird. He then tweets out saying, we're on the cusp of creating the greatest New York LA pipeline in the history of comedy. They're about to go crazy. He genuinely thinks that he's going to create... He basically said that his first Super Roast Battles is something unlike anything you've ever seen before. Like, you've never seen a comedy show quite like it. That might actually be right. I've never seen anything like it. Def Noodles then tweets out at Cavos and says, Cavos, since you're too puss to do a street fight, let's do it on Street Beefs, bare knuckles next week. And he actually DM'd Street Beefs before Cavos even confirmed and said, hi, hope you're well. Reaching out to see the possibility of setting up a bare knuckle fight between two YouTubers on Street Beefs. The fight would be between me, 500k subs, and Cavos, 1 million subs. He recently challenged me to a fight and I thought it would be cool to get it done on your channel next week. Let me know how you can make this happen. Love you guys. Def Noodles then responds to that and says, so you don't want to box because you hate rules and now you want to do a street fight with rules just to make you too scared to box. He responds and says, stop crying and just accept it. We all know you have the body mass of a marshmallow, zero conditioning, and can't last one round in the ring. This way it'll be over quick and you'll be able to walk home from the hospital. Cavos says, you said you don't want to get into business with me. You want a fight with no rules, and now you want to do a street fight with rules for some random YouTube channel. You must be back on the drugs. Def Noodles responds and says, Street Beefs has 2.4 million subs. They're one of the biggest street fight channels on YouTube. I understand why you're ducking though. You're not serious about fighting. You just want attention. Makes sense. Dude looks like he can't lift a paper straw. I'm ready to put you to sleep now. And then he posts a mirror selfie of himself with like, he's not built. He's just skinny with a bit of like, he's just skinny. And he posts Cavos when he's turned around with like a double chin, obviously because he's talking and looking down. Even the skinniest of people will have a double chin because that's just how our body, like I don't understand the body shaming going on, but sure. I think that's the least of our concerns, the body shaming. But I'm just like, it's just a bit unnecessary. Cavos says, bro, you seriously just tweeted this? And that's what I'm thinking. Def Noodles responds and says, tweet a pic of yourself shirtless. All right, Def. I see you flirting out there on twitter.com. Let's see if you're actually ready for a fight or if you're just gassing this up because you want attention. I'm ready to fight now. On the street or street beefs? Bare knuckles, now. Why is there so much aggression? I don't know. Kava says, all this, you really just wanted to shut this picture of me, didn't you? I think Def is flirting with him just a tiny bit. This dude isn't about shit. He's talking around a fight now. I've said my piece. Ball is in. He said ball is on his court. Is it in his court? If he really wants to fight me, I'm down to do it either on the street or street beefs. That's it. I'm done with this clown. And then he's like tweeting out like memes about Kavos and how he's trending on Twitter 2 days in a row, baby. Whoop whoop. Sometimes it's good to not trend. And that's actually better than trending for the wrong reason. Then the Quartering responds to Kavos's original tweet about the boxing match and says only if the Quartering versus Ethan Klein is on the undercard because they're beefing now. And Def Noodles responds and says, shut the f up or I'm gonna pee in your mouth. Oh, my neighbors just heard me shout that. Hey guys, so sorry if you can hear the dishwasher. I put it on without thinking about the fact that I'm going to have to film. I said when I started filming this video that I'm gonna stop like overthinking the fact that like stories are gonna continue while I film and edit, but I knew it was gonna piss me off that I didn't update you guys because this video took me a while to get to editing. So I have a few updates about Def Noodles I'm just hopping in with. They're not very long, but I thought they were kind of important, so I didn't want to leave it out because it would just be a weird thing to post this video without the like, you know? Oh, it's so hot. I started like cleaning around my house. It's what I do. I like to call it efficient procrastination. It's like when I don't want to do the thing that not that I don't want to, but like I know that that's the thing that I should be doing. I like to do other things that are like efficient, like clean my house. But they're not what I should be doing. So I'm actually procrastinating what I should be doing. Anyway, I don't know if anyone else does that. He had his second roast battles that I talked about during the video. And a few days before, he posted that video about how his life is like threatened. And it was a guy that he invited to the roast battles that showed up at the office and was caught on CCTV. But it was the guy that was supposed to be at the roast battles called Salvo. Salvo actually goes to the roast and most of the audience is apparently people that are there for Salvo because he ended up with someone else promoting the ticket sales like to their audience. The other person I'm talking about is Red Bar. I'm not really on that side of the internet, so excuse me if I don't know what name applies to who. But anyway, so he gets there, he's riling up the audience. Apparently Def Noodles wants to get security on him, but apparently security weren't that great, so like maybe just get new security.
And after that finished playing, Salvo gets up out of his seat and he's once again, leading a chant, and he's saying Red Bar. He's getting a FaceTime call from his mic. Is I guess FaceTiming him, and I come out and I push him. As you can see, I pushed him back into his seat. Now there's a lot of speculation. There's this angle right here from this person who's also a troll and has an entire account dedicated to cataloging everything I do and all these shows and framing everything in the worst way possible. But anyway, her angle is the one that really went viral. But I get up and I push him back to his seat. And he immediately, look at what he does. This is what people were saying. Oh, Dennis hid behind his security guards. So from this angle, you can see exactly what happened. So I pushed him, and he falls back on his seat. Falls perfectly. He's fine. And then he immediately gets up and turns to his security guard and starts pointing for a security guard to come after me. And then what happens? His security, he pushes me back. And then Corey, who's my co-host, at the moment, he comes in and, people were saying that I was hiding behind security. I was trying to essentially get back. He even slaps my mic over there.
Def Noodles actually addresses this in a video and like justifies why he did what he did. But actually, if you go back to, for example, the situation with Chris Rock and Will Smith, Def Noodles had a lot to say about Will Smith in a negative way. He was like, Will Smith can't take a joke, like he's so unprofessional, yada yada. When he literally did the same thing, except like Will Smith, that wasn't his event, whereas Def Noodles, this was his event that he invited someone to and then beat them up. Beat them up is a bit strong, push them. And then apparently the main video that went viral was from a troll. Def Noodles was like, this video went viral of like this weird angle where it looks like I'm hiding behind my security, and that was actually filmed by a troll. My top lip has never been more sweaty. What is going on? He was like, this troll was filming it. Why is that every time something comes out that like doesn't look good for Def Noodles, it's like a troll filming it? Or like someone just doesn't like him talking about it. It's a narrative. Anyway, so he addresses Critical in the same video, and he talks about how basically Critical, backstory, Critical has been talking about Def Noodles roast battles and talking about Def Noodles as well. And he actually didn't defend Def Noodles, but also didn't defend Salvo. He just said like, this reminds him of situations where people would go to prank like the public and then be surprised when someone finally like punched them. So he was like, maybe it was a situation of that without realizing that Salvo was like invited. Now, do I think Salvo was being obnoxious? Absolutely. But also you did say pull up or shut up. Let's battle this out like men. So like, I'm sure you can take a bit of hackling, mainly with your 13 years of comedy experience. I'm sure you've dealt with so many hecklers that you just know how to handle it, or you don't, and that's why you shove them. I don't know. Clearly you just don't have enough roasting in you to address it with your words and not your actions. But I'd say Critical had like a pretty neutral, nuanced take, but I think because of the opinion of Def Noodles right now, it wasn't taken lightly, and the commentary community, well, I don't know if it was just some people were just getting upset about Critical kind of defending Def Noodles, when I don't think he did. I just think he kind of swerved around the topic. And then Critical films another video basically being like, hey, I didn't realize Salvo was like an invited guest. If I'd known that, my opinion would have been different. And that's just that. And Def Noodles addresses Critical changing his mind on Salvo. At the beginning of that video where he's addressing Critical, he's like pushing a chair on, like pretending to punch it and being like, next time I'll just punch someone on the back of the head. Okay, so you're threatening to paralyze someone, because we know that that's the reason why that move is banned from boxing, because you can actually, you know, mess up someone's nerves. Like I said, Salvo might have been messing around and hackling like the event that he was a part of, which is, you know, but Def Noodles has done the same in the past. And does that mean that he should have got shoved as well? Like, for example, let's think about the Ace Fest, right? He showed up to an event, walked up to Austin and started like grilling him on the fact that he's a scammer. Like, that is heckling. Hackling? Have I been saying it wrong the whole time? Anyway, interrupting the Ace Fest. And if Austin had shoved Def Noodles or pushed him or punched him, the outrage, the amount of videos, the merch, the suing, you know, all that would be going on. But because Def Noodles did it now, once again, it's just like the hypocrisy, you know? Now, an employee spoke out. So Tiana has actually been working for Def Noodles, I'm not really sure for how long, but like behind the scenes, but we've seen her kind of over the last kind of while his content has been changing, we've seen her kind of appear in the back of videos, and she like filmed some stuff for him, etc. So she posted 2 TikToks, I'm gonna play them for you guys, about when they went to Burning Man. So she actually went with him to film him.
Hi, okay, yes, so I quit my job. If you know who I work for, you know. You probably understand why I quit, but the main thing that pushed me over the edge was Burning Man. So get this, I had to go on a work trip to Burning Man to record a YouTube video. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm assuming my boss is gonna tell me like what I need to bring or like what to prepare for or like anything. I didn't get any details. I didn't even want to go in the first place, okay? I was getting bad vibe. I just didn't really want to go. So I asked him like a few days prior. I was like, did you already like buy the tickets or anything? Like it just doesn't really go with my schedule. And he like got mad and he's like, I dropped like $4,000 on this trip. Like, you need to let me know if you can't come. I was like, okay, like I'll just go, whatever. So I go, we fly to Reno, we get there. We wait like an hour in line for the rental car place. He goes up with an expired driver's license. How are you? I'm sorry, like, well, how did you think you could rent a car with an expired driver's license? So then he's like, you can do it, like me. And they're like, well, the person who like rents the car has to put their card down. So I had to put my card down, like a $400 charge on my card. And so the rental car was under my name. Then we drive to Burning Man, like 3 hours. That shit took 6 hours because he went off-road. He was like, fuck the GPS. I see it over there. Let's just drive straight through the desert. Also, I had half a bottle of water with me that entire time. We were in the middle of the desert, no phone service. He just starts going off-road in the rental car, drives in many ditches. Like, we got stuck at one point. I literally thought I was gonna die. And it was like so bumpy. My head was like hitting the ceiling. I was anxious the entire time. Like, so anxious. It was like literally one of the worst experiences of my life. It was really bad. And then we finally get to Burning Man, like 5 hours later. We pull up, and then I asked him, I'm like, where are we sleeping? He's like, I'm probably not gonna sleep because I have a lot of work to do, but you can sleep in the car. Oh, okay, that would have been nice to know. I could have brought like a pillow or something. I literally didn't even bring pants. Like I'm wearing shorts and a Gap hoodie. And then we get there, we get the tickets, and he's like, oh, this is like a rave? I thought it was like a hippie commune thing. How the you just drop 4K on a trip and you don't even know what it is? What? I'm like, okay, this guy's not as smart as I thought he was. I didn't even think he was, but I'm like, come on, dude, come on. Like, be for real, okay? Anyways, so we get there. They don't sell water there or food. It's like, you literally, it was a quick Google search. And I know I could have done it, but it's like, I'm going on a work trip. Like, I didn't think my boss was dumb enough to not tell me any of this. But he didn't do a simple Google search, which if you type in Burning Man, you click on the thing, there's a big thing with the survival guide. It tells you that they don't sell food, they don't like buy or sell goods there. That's just how it is. So there was no water. I had half my water bottle from the airport, and no food. And we were in the middle of the desert, and I had to sleep in the car. And there was no bathrooms. There was just porta potties and hand sanitizer, and I didn't know that, and it was just horrible.
So she was like, it was just a mess. And then she posted the second part as well to continue the story.
Okay, hi guys. So I was gonna do the part 2 to this story because I didn't get to finish my little story time video. But I got a text from my ex-boss last night saying that he's gonna sue me. I guess he got butthurt about the story time video, and then he lied about me on his live this morning and called me a clout chaser, even though I've literally never mentioned his name on my channel. Humble yourself. I've never mentioned his name ever. I just made a story time video because I'm a content creator who makes story times. It was an interesting story. If I wanted clout, I could make a whole YouTube video and end his career and go off. But I don't use his name. I've made one storytime video about this. Like, I just don't understand where that came from.
Now, another thing, Katsda actually did a video. Katsda's great at just exposing like the behind the scenes of things, like he did with Ace Fest, with the selling tickets, etc. He's like great at like the analytics stuff, such an underrated channel. But he did a video on this where apparently Def Noodles' operation is not on like the legal side, allegedly. So we know the address because he's posted it before, and he's selling tickets through Eventbrite, so you can kind of like see like where the event is that you're buying tickets for, obviously. So it's not like he's being doxxed. Now the building has 2 addresses for some weird reason, but he checked kind of, Katsda like did his due diligence of like checking the addresses. There is no permit for the club. He's doing construction with no permits again. He also doesn't have a liquor license, which means he's not allowed to sell alcohol, but in some clips, allegedly people are saying that he's passing around alcohol. There's also this thing in LA where you're supposed to have a permit if you're going to have any sort of live entertainment, including obviously comedy shows with roast battles. Those are live entertainments. You're supposed to get a special permit for that. I'm gonna put up on the screen for you guys. He doesn't have, allegedly, any of that. So actually, I was gonna film this bit of the video, and then I went on twitter.com and I saw Def Noodles get ahead of the curve. He posted, I just got doxxed. LAPD stopped by my club and did a full search for the whole thing, but found nothing. No fines, no warnings, I'm 100% clear. Thanks to everyone who reported me, love ya. Third roast battle, September 9th at 8 PM. Get your tickets now, link in the thread. Now, he's saying he got doxxed. Doxing is showing someone's address or private information they haven't wanted to be kind of out in public, right? Like, if I never show you guys my personal address, which I haven't, and then someone finds it and puts it on the internet, that is doxing. If I don't show you guys my full name, for whatever reason, my real name, someone finds it, they put it on the internet, that's doxing. You're selling tickets to this club. People know the address because it's as if I was like, I called for a complaint for a cinema in my area, and the cinema was like, oh my God, we got doxed. Like, isn't the address public? Because it's a club that people are supposed to attend. That's like first and foremost, like, what the f is going on? But apparently like LAPD stopped, did a search of everything is fine. People are now trying to doubt. People are now doubting that this is even real. People are saying that the uniform for the police officer looks a bit odd, looks a bit too crisp, a little bit, you know, fake. People are just wondering, like, if he doesn't have any of these permits, how is he getting approved? But it just kind of looks like Def Noodles is getting ahead of the curve to be like, haha, like, before you guys say anything, I've got all the checks. So we'll see how that progresses. All of this information is alleged. I'm not like making any accusations. I'm just showing you guys what's out there, and that'll be it for the update. And that is really it until now. I tried to summarize it as quickly as possible, and this video is still probably like close to an hour because I'm confused about what's going on. Like, there is just so much happening that like I'm trying to summarize it, but while trying to summarize it, I'm having to like add extra details from other stories because this all just links back to like a year ago. I keep on tapping my tripod with my camera on it. Yeah, so I've tried to summarize it for you guys just so you know what's going on with our friend Def Noodles, and I hope you guys understand what's going on now. If there's anything else, I will update you. And yeah, that'll be it. Subscribe to that bell icon for engagement. I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.